Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to part two of the fourth episode, Conversations with Syma Hamid. So, we concluded in part one on a question that I had put to her, which she found extremely deep and relevant. And it was about how authenticity can be maintained while we are adapting to different people and situations. So, I would request Syma to shed some light on this extremely challenging and at times confusing topic. Ji
So
Saima.
authenticity is a very beautiful word. And I would like to relate it to one phenomena which I personally believe to be very true. Biologically and physically, we are born. Our birth takes place once, and when then our bodies they exhaust, they die. But within that lifespan, we are born multiple times through
Right.
different stages and phases of our life. So if we use authenticity as a measure to assess that how authentic have we been throughout our life, that means we have to be authentic at every new level and stage of our life.
All right.
Authenticity would demand from us that we own the truth of who we are. So if I was, let's suppose, 5 years back, if I believed myself that I was not imperfect, being stubborn and firm and being judgmental would be for me. Today, if I believe I am imperfect, understanding and having more flexibility would be more authenticity for me.
Okay. Okay. All right. So what you're saying is that we are constantly evolving and improving and
Yes,
refining and
excellent.
progressing, and that with time we are not the same person we were a few years ago or a few months ago. We are forever being a more refined self, and that is only if we are deliberately and consciously
It's the
working on
idea.
self-improvement.
That is the idea. I mean, if you were the same person at 40, which you were at 30, believe me, you wasted 10 years of your life
Wow. Wow. Wow.
because
That's
we are so fixated in trying to be human doings, but we are not being human beings.
right. Right. प्लीज elaborate on this because ये जो आपने बात कही है कि हम इंसान हैं और हम जो कर रहे हैं उसमें इतना महव हो जाते हैं कि हम भूल जाते हैं कि हम इंसान के नाते हैं कौन और हमारा वजूद क्या मायने रखता है.
Yes, yes. I think the basic reason, fundamental reason why we started this series was to understand and shed light on the totality of the subject of life. And it's very important कि हमें ये पता हो कि जिंदगी को गुजारने का असल हुनर है क्या? Is it the
जी
functionality in terms of if we are being a better human doing? Because that's what everybody obsesses about.
जी
Success, I think it's about high time हमें success को इस तरह measure करना चाहिए that our measure of success should be of how content we feel within ourselves. That should be the measure of success.
mm,
How fulfilled are we? Not
right
how much money we have or how much possessions we have, because again, it is not it is never going to be enough.
right
It
right
is never going to be enough. अब अगर हम बात करते हैं that beings, what is the difference between human being and human doing? There are two ways of living life. Either we can live our life trying to feel better, or we can try and live our life in becoming better. And they are entirely different paths.
right right
If we want to base our sense of confidence and root them externally, that means we are only running after things which are going to make us feel better about ourselves.
right
constantly,
Mm.
constantly. But in the process of feeling better, are we becoming better as well?
Okay, okay. And
Becoming better is an
yeah,
entirely different journey.
and ये जो becoming better वाला, इसमें कौन से वो factors हैं जिस पे हमें गौर करना चाहिए? What should we focus on in terms of knowing that there are milestones and that we are actually making progress and can look back and say, oh, wow, now I feel good on a more solid footing.
I admire your questions, and I think it's never the answers that are meaningful, it's always the questions. Uh, our life, our lives are shaped by the ends we intend to meet. And what really is required for us to measure whether we are moving in the direction of becoming better is again our values. Now, if majority of the times people don't even know what their values are and they're struggling, and probably you've also experienced that, if you ask somebody, they would also come up with fancy words which are not really, you know, deeply rooted in their sense of values. They wouldn't even know that.
Mm.
So there's something I can basically assist in assessing the kind of values somebody would want to have if they want to really follow the path of becoming better.
Mhm.
Think of a think of a tombstone. मतलब
Right.
आप कभी कब्रिस्तान जाएं, you would definitely see a lot of tombstones there, right? If you happen to, cross by some of them and read, अक्सर औकात देखा ही होता है, गुजरते गुजरते जिंदगी में कभी ना कभी तो ऐसा मौका आया होता है.
Mm.
Have you ever read there written exceptional financial advisor,
No, never,
rich and stylish,
never.
Mr. XYZ,
Conquered lands.
right? Yeah. What is it that we usually find there?
Yeah.
Loving father, or
Yes.
a loving and a generous woman, something like that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's one of the most beautiful things to ask yourselves. Imagine your own tombstone,
Mm.
write your name on it,
Mm.
and if I ask you, write down 3 or 4 things how you would like to be remembered. What are the 3 things you would like to be written there for yourself?
Wow. Wow.
And then every day commit to those things, live them every day.
Wonderful.
Having values is not enough.
Yes.
Living them and meeting them every day consistently is what makes the difference.
Wow. Interesting. And if I may ask a question linked to values, which is, there is a biblical quote, and I feel that it's quite true for other faiths and thought processes and systems, that people without vision perish. And
Yes.
I've come across this thought because if I'm not clear in terms of the life I want to create, and again, that stems from values that you're speaking about. And I've noticed that a clear picture of, like, this tombstone exercise was more about a vision of me
Yes.
making a mental journey and seeing
Yes.
my life after life and saying, how do I wish to be remembered? Now, where does vision sit with values in a personal journey of becoming better?
Values are the pillars of vision. You can you can only envisage something as much as your values allow you to.
Right.
If somebody deeply believes that I am a loyal person,
Mm,
their life experiences are going to be shaped to test this person's loyalty.
right. Right.
And the more true he stands to himself, the more honor he will receive in his life.
Wow. So the path for success, as we are discussing it, is paved with some cobblestones. इतना आसान रास्ता नहीं है लेकिन fulfilling है, satisfying है मेरे ख्याल से.
Asanya are attached with feelings.
Right.
Feelings are impermanent, they're inconsistent, they're like clouds, they come and go. Sunshine is forever.
Yeah.
अगर आपका sense of self-esteem clouds के साथ attached है, imagine what's gonna happen in sunny days.
गायब.
It's gone. Is
Yes.
nowhere to be found,
Yes.
right? But if your sense of self-esteem relies and trusts in the sun, the source
Yeah.
itself, अगर clouds आ भी जाएंगे, you will know this is temporary.
Yes.
You
Yes.
will know.
This is a very powerful metaphor, very helpful to latch on to, because when you look up into the sky, you see clouds and you see the stars and the sun
Yes.
and the
Yeah.
moon and
Yeah.
their regularity. And we need to be inspired by this natural phenomena, which is so stable, so
Some
consistent.
people find such immense amount of pleasure in stating that they've never changed in life. I think it's a moment to ponder.
Right.
God has given this beautiful gift of life, not that we become machines as human doings. We have to become human beings, and by being means you're a living person and you evolve and you learn and you grow. We have
Right.
to become better. And how do we become better if we don't advance ourselves?
Right. Now, this kind of thinking, how does it sit in a conventional world that values the external trappings? And can one blend this desire for a life which is full of meaning, significance, fulfillment, and a sense of contentment, inner peace, in a stormy world which is surrounded by all kinds of pressures that are more externally driven? Um, is there a way one can enjoy the privacy of one's own self in a noisy world?
Always, always. I mean, for the first thing, and this is something I always urge everybody to do as well. हम अपने इर्द गिर्द जब successful stories देखते हैं and we get so inspired and we admire successful people, but what we hardly realize is we are looking at the final product. We are not focusing on the process they took or it took this person to reach here. And that process, अच्छा अब अक्सर औकात लोग readings भी करते हैं, they would go and they would pick up self-help books, how to become millionaire in, I don't know, 1 month or 1 year or whatever, and how to be positive thinker. I think this all never helps, if you
Mm,
ask me, in my professional opinion.
mm,
Why it never helps? It's because one way or another, I I always urge everybody to go and start reading autobiographies of people.
mhm, mhm,
Why? Because in those books you're gonna find processes, and they
mm,
will always be filled with values, perseverance, consistency,
mm,
honesty,
mm,
reliability, and they'll tell कि what. I mean, आप स्टीव जॉब्स को देखें, अगर
mm,
आप उनकी पूरी, he always stood firm and believed in who he was, the truth of who he was. He
mm,
always worked with that.
mm. And
Every time
people
he will step
and people
outside,
loved him, they hated him, but he remained true to who he was. That's true.
anybody who has ever done worthwhile anything in this life, it's because of who they were, and they remain true to who they were.
And the rest is just a byproduct of that.
That's the power of truth. You fall in love with it.
Wow.
It has its
Wow.
effect.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. So what I think our audience has got from episode 4 is don't look at the outcomes, look at the process that individuals go through in order to seemingly have so much around them, but it's because they were true to themselves and they remained consistent and evolved as human beings by becoming better each day rather than focusing on doing and becoming machines and robotics. तो आप ये बताएं कि when we meet next time, episode 5, is there some task you would like our audience to reflect on or carry out so that when they come to the next episode, they're able to then find out what you have to say about?
Yes, I can actually, now that you've mentioned it. And maybe if we can demonstrate it for them, a little bit.
Go
Now, if
ahead.
I ask you, what do you think is a life expectancy of a person?
Depends on where he or she is born. In Pakistan, I would have thought it's about 55, 60. In Canada, around 80, 85.
Okay, okay. So if we let's suppose, I mean, in Japan it might be around 90 or 92 years, or considering, but let's suppose if we take a hypothetical figure of 80, right?
Right.
So you write that down, 80,
Okay. Okay.
right?
Done.
I'm gonna obviously do this exercise on myself, and everybody can do that on themselves accordingly. Now,
Sure.
if I were to subtract the number of years I've already lived, or how old I am right now, maybe
Right.
let's suppose if I add, I don't know, 45.
Okay.
Let's suppose I'm 45 years old, right? I
Yeah.
subtract 45 from 80, I will get 35.
Yes.
So you
Yes.
will get a certain number of years, right? Now,
Mm.
if you multiply that figure with 365, I got 12,775 days.
Right.
So if I have this number of days left, according to whatever I think my life expectancy is, I should better reflect on this and ask myself, how do I really intend to spend these days for myself?
Wow. Knowing that at any given moment we could pop. That also
That
is a
is an
challenge.
entirely different possibility. However, let's suppose if we're trying to be too wishful and trying to give us ourselves the maximum leverage,
Yes.
according to that, if this is
Yes.
the number I have, how
Mm.
do I intend to spend it? What
Right.
what am I going to do with these numbers of days? Because time is not going to wait for me to grow up.
Right.
The clock
Interesting.
is ticking away.
With this, clock is ticking. I would request our audience to give it a thought. And the way to write your own reflections would be to ask yourself, these are the number of days I have. How do I want to live them? And I
And
suppose,
you should connect this, and maybe you can connect this with how would you like to be remembered. Think of your tombstone
yes,
too, and use
exactly.
these days. Make a roadmap
Yes,
for yourself,
yes. And in the process, you will arrive at a vision and values, I suppose. And
some
this could
sense of
be
direction.
and this could perhaps be the source of confidence that was being derived from the inner as opposed to externalities.
Absolutely.
Right. Thank you so much, Saima, for your time. And
Thank you.
inshallah, we'll meet again in a couple of weeks, as and when it is convenient for you, so that our audience can
Definitely.
further reflect on the ideas that you throw out and make us
Thank
think
you.
about life and its meaning and its purpose. जज़ाकल्ला बहुत बहुत
Thank you.
मजा आया साइमा
Thank
अपना
you.
ख्याल रखिएगा we'll meet each other again soon
Thank you.